Asia Pacific region. Okay, I will take this opportunity to mention that this briefing will be recorded. And I would like, on behalf of the Secretariat, to welcome all of you from Asia Pacific regions to this online briefing. And we will provide you with the number and list of all the registered participants that we received. We would like to inform you that the briefing is the result and the outcome of the discussions held at the ICCM5 Bureau meeting that was held in Geneva on 22nd and 23rd of June. We would like to inform you that the briefing supports the preparation of the resumed fourth meeting of the intersessional process, considering the strategic approach and sound management of chemicals and waste beyond 2020, which will be held in Bonn from 23rd to 24th September 2023. The main objective of this briefing are: first, to clarify to the participants the process for preparing IP co-chairs non-papers to facilitate the achievement of consensus at the resumed fourth meeting. The second is to give an opportunity to indicate outstanding sticking point for participants from the Asia-Pacific regions. We would like to clarify that similar briefings are organized for each of the 5 UN regions and are opened to all stakeholders. We would like to inform the participants as well that after the introductions from the IP co-chairs, you will have the opportunity to ask questions. And I would like to thank at this stage the IP co-chairs, Ms. Judith Torres from Uruguay and Ms. Kay Williams from the United Kingdom, for their availability for the briefing. And I'm very pleased to give the floor to our IP co-chairs to proceed with the briefing agenda. Can you unmute? No. To our technicians, if we can facilitate, if we can help Kay to unmute.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much, Pierre, the Secretariat, for that introduction, and a good morning, afternoon, and evening from wherever you are in the world at the moment. Judith, did you want to say welcome? Maybe not. We seem to have lost Judith. So I'd like to move on now to give a basis. Are you okay, Judith? Or
sorry, it's difficult to unmute from the phone, but good morning or good afternoon or good night to everyone. Thank you.
Okay, we'll now go through. We've just got a few slides that Judith and I would like to go through with you. The aim of this briefing, as the Secretariat said, is to give as much clarity as we can on the process that Judith and I would like to take forward with the view for achieving consensus at IP 4.3. So I think the Secretariat has gone through this slide. If we go to the next slide, please. At the Bureau meeting that we had in June, Judith and I explained to Bureau members that whilst we had made some progress in Nairobi, that the document, when we've been looking at it carefully in terms of what work we needed to do next, still had many brackets that we were wondering how to resolve in the very short time that we have available. We have only 2 days are IP 4.3. And when we go into ICCM5, the negotiating time that we have there will be extremely short, because we will also have a high-level segment with a high-level declaration, and we will also have the business of the international conference, in addition to working on the consolidated instrument and any resolutions and recommendations coming through. So at the Bureau meeting, it was decided that we would develop non-papers with a specific focus on those areas that we believed we could make a little bit more progress to help reaching consensus at IP 4.3. These non-papers will be based on the IP 4.2 consolidated document. That document remains the basis of discussions at the resumed IP 4.3 meeting. And the aim of the non-papers is really to offer suggestions and a way through to see whether we can achieve consensus within the time that we have available. So the aim of the documents is not to bring substantive changes to the original intent of the text, but to enhance the existing text and to remove repetition. Where possible and where necessary, streamline some of the narrative. Identify where actions have been placed in many parts of the document, and to try and determine and guide where they may have the greatest impact in terms of the new Beyond 2020 framework. And also take as a step back and look at the whole package of text that we have to determine whether what we have been working on in terms of the targets, the narrative, and the resolutions, will this really achieve the strategic objectives and vision that we will set for ourselves in terms of a future free from chemical and waste harms. So to reiterate, the non-papers are meant to facilitate the achievement of consensus by providing this understanding of the text and refining existing text for improved comprehension. When Judith and I were looking at the text, despite myself being a native speaker of English, there were parts of the text I didn't understand anymore. I didn't understand what the policy intent was. And I think somehow we need to try and progress that in as efficient way as possible. And the approach of drafting some non-papers is the way that Judith and I would like to take this forward. Next slide, please. So over the last few days, over the coming days, Judith and I are holding some virtual briefings open to all stakeholders in all regions to explain why we've decided to put forward non-papers with the agreement of the Bureau. The aim is for these non-papers to be published around the 11th of August. In early September, following the publication of these non-papers, Judith and I aim to do the same exercise with all regions to present them and explain some of the rationale behind our thinking of the language in the non-paper. On the 21st to 22nd of September, we are very fortunate to be able to have a number of in-person regional meetings in Germany ahead of IP 4.3. And we see these meetings as absolutely key to be working together between regions to be achieving consensus positions in the instrument moving forward. Next slide, please. So now this is the opportunity really for you to ask any questions, to share any concerns, and also to tell us what you are very worried about in terms of the sticking points in the process so far that Judith and I really need to focus our attention on, to try and come up with a way forward at IP 4.3. So with that, I'd like to open the floor. So I see Suki. Suki. Ah,
Can you hear me?
I can now. I've unmuted you. I've been given control of the mute button now.
Yes, thank you very much. Firstly, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to, of course, SICAD Secretariat, but especially for Kay and Judith for taking up this role. I don't think you've expected this much of work when you take up this role. So thank you very much for your hard work towards ICCM 5. And we have quite a few sticking points, which we have expressed already during the IP discussion. So we would like to leave the sticking point now, and we would like to place the question first. And then hear other questions as well from other participants. Then if we had a time to discuss sticking points, then we would like to come back on that. But by doing so, we are trying to use the time as efficient as possible, given the trusting that the Secretariat and co-chair knows already our sticking point, since we have expressed plenty of time during IP process. So firstly, we would like to place some questions. And firstly, thank you for the idea of producing this non-paper. And I was wondering how this non-paper could accelerate our discussion, since our discussions based on the IP, the framework documents that has been used at IP 4.2. And is it something like IP 4.1 that we put two documents on the screen? One is from IP3 document, and another is the proposal from virtual working group. Then look through, then replace where the participants believe more efficient. Or so we would like to know how this non-paper would be presented and will be negotiated during the meeting. That's the first question. And the second question is that you had mentioned that we have very little time for the negotiation, since there will be the high-level segment. So does it mean you do not expect the negotiation process going on while high-level segment is happening? Our understanding that the participants for the high-level segments and the negotiators are totally different people. So we believe that if no agreement come to the end of Wednesday, we could still go on the negotiation. But I was wondering, what's your thought on this point? And then the thirdly, about the non-papers, are you going to produce non-papers only for the targets and financial consideration, or if you expect to produce other non-papers on the other area of the framework document? Since you have mentioned that even for the native speakers, there are some area where it does not really make sense. So I understand that not only target and financial consideration, but the other part may be able to be improved. But I would like to know if your plan is to provide non-papers only for the target and finance, or other part of the document as well. So yeah, that's three questions first. And if we have time to come back to the sticking points, since we have quite a few, we would like to come back. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Suki. And first of all, yes, I know we have had discussions. You've had discussions with the Secretariat, so we're aware of your sticking points. In terms of how the non-papers will be negotiated, Judith and I are working extremely closely with the co-facilitators of two particular groups, the finance group, which was looking at financial considerations and capacity building, and the targets group. Because those two groups were the ones, when we looked at the text overall, seemed to need the most work, and that with the best will in the world, even if we were to set up a lot of concurrent thematic groups, we don't believe that they would be finished in time in the 2 days that we have left. We have not yet completed any draft of the non-papers, which in a way makes it difficult to understand how we're going to use them. We just know that we'd like to focus initially on the areas that we believe need most work. And the work is different in both of those areas. So for example, the targets is more about the balance of items in the targets around compared to the whole of the package, and also understanding what the intent of some of the targets is meant to be, because that has been lost in some of the targets. Whereas the finance section, we have 3.5 pages of narrative, which is repetitious in places, has some ideas about capacity building in there, and also has a mix of activities, if you like, which, to be fair, that's what was requested at Bucharest, so that everybody could have their ideas on the table. There just hasn't been the time to sort that out. So I think Judith and I are looking at that to streamline the text to understand what we need in terms of finance narrative, to take out some of the activities that have been identified and potentially make them into targets, and to look at the capacity building section, because we now have had some developments from the ICC Iran proposal that we're considering to see how we might be able to take that forward in a concrete way within the whole framework document. So in terms of how the non-papers will be negotiated, I think it's still very open. Judith and I are considering all options. The problem with the approach that we took in Bucharest by doing things side by side was that also takes a long time. But you may see a mix of approaches. I think nothing's been fixed as of yet of how the non-papers will be used. We are always in the hands of all delegates. Our aim is to make sure we have as clean a document by the end of Sunday as we possibly can, to allow for translation into the 6 languages for ICCM 5, because the timing now means we have very little time to translate what we have and what will be negotiated between IP 4.3 and the start of ICCM 5. In terms of the high-level segment, you're right that some delegations will have different people that will be accompanying their ministers, but other delegations may not. And I think we need to be mindful that with ministers coming and the aim of the conference to be being celebratory, if you like, and adopting a high-level declaration and the high-level segment, that there may well be delegations that are busy during that time. It really is up to the German presidency and not Judith and I to take forward how that conference is managed and run. But what we've been told to relay is that we would like to have as much completed by the Wednesday evening. And then in terms of whether there'll be other non-papers, we're just trying to facilitate consensus. We believe that it's better to focus on the areas where we think we need the most work. Where there is clean text, Judith and I are extremely nervous about touching any clean text that has been carefully crafted. But where there is duplication or a lack of understanding of what the words are trying to put across, then we are trying to look at and create the right terminology and the right intent moving forward. I hope that helps. Judith, did you want to add anything?
Thank you. No, I think it all is very clear. Our intention in this way forward is to be clear as possible, as Kate said, to avoid repetition. And we are presenting these non-papers very early before IP 4.3, so everyone can be aware of what is on these papers. We are trying also to balance all the expressions that were made during our previous IPs. And I think we are quite mature now with those more than almost 7 years of negotiations, and we can understand the policy behind all the specific targets, finance, and capacity building. Thank you.
Thanks, Judith. I see Sajad would like to come in. Would you like to take the floor, Sajad, please?
Could we ensure to open? Okay.
Okay. Hello, everybody. First of all, I need to apologize you all for my delay because of some technical issues with connectivity. My question is about high-level declaration, and as far as I know, today is a deadline that the representative of countries must send their expected declarations. And my question is exactly about the mechanism for achieving a unified, consolidated text for a declaration, for a possible declaration. As we know that the comments and the expectations and the priorities of all countries participating in this meeting are sometimes different. And so what is the mechanism to unify all these different matters and priorities and goals to a unified text for a possible high-level declaration? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sajad. At this point, I would like to say that the ICCM5 and the high-level declaration is not the responsibility of Judith and I. Judith and I are co-chairs of the intersessional process, at which point we hand over to the German presidency. So I don't know whether the Secretariat, who've been working more closely with the German presidency on this, might be able to answer your question, because they are closer with the process moving forward in that regard. So could I pass to a Secretariat maybe to take this one?
Yes, thank you, Kay. No, we have little to say because it is really within the hands of ICCM5 presidency, but I think that you should expect to see all the submissions to this request to be gathered and to be proposed. I think that the German presidency intends to be as transparent as possible in this exercise, and as soon as this, what you call, Sajjad, this unifying exercise of all the submission has been done, we should get some feedback on the next step from the German presidency. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, the Secretariat. I don't know if there's any more hands. I know that there's some chat, some chat going on, but I'm not able to see it all. Is it? I can see Susan Wilburn. Okay, yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Susan. It's good to have your support. Would anybody else like to raise any questions? This is your opportunity. Judith and I are here. You've got any
Yes, hi there.
concerns?
This is Delissa. I am from CropLife International, representing industries, industry representative. I've also seen Suki's comment from Japan on having a written submission of the sticking points. We have been working with some of our Asian regulators, particularly for the agricultural industry, because there's been a lot of interfacing between the Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Environment for this. Do you have more information on where we could provide such a written submission?
Well, so in terms of the written submission, as I say, Judith and I, we've had a lot of time and a lot of negotiations to try and understand positions. I think it's been a benefit, but it's also been a disbenefit, because the length of time has allowed things to evolve. And as we've seen, we've had ideas coming in very late, which are good ideas, but we've had to address them. And it means that we were continuously having to update and change our approaches. So I think at this stage, we are literally looking at just one or two key areas that you are concerned about. We do not want, and we have no time to go through a raft of submissions. I presume that your points have been made in person at the negotiations. If
Yes.
there's anything, one or two points that you really want to emphasize that you are concerned, or what would be even better would be if you could see a way forward. That would be great. We are always looking for opportunities to understand how we can reach consensus on those difficult issues. And we will be looking in those 2 days at IP 4.3 for all participants to be taking a lead, to be finding the solutions amongst yourselves, so that we can get as good a consensus document to take to ICCM5 as possible.
Okay, thank you. And so the 21st and 22nd, these are regional meetings, and we will get the draft of the non-papers that are global, right? It's not just a regional submission. Okay. And I think previously you mentioned that you don't really have a list of the sticking points yet that we would expect in the non-papers as the topics.
I think the sticking points is a very generic term of just, we've got, Judith and I already have quite a good understanding of what regions and also individual delegates are concerned and worried about. But if there was something that specifically comes up that you feel you either have a solution for, or is a very, very, very important aspect that you feel absolutely needs to be resolved, then please just approach us with that issue. But we do not want, we cannot and haven't got the time to go through reams and reams of submissions.
Definitely understood. Okay,
Okay.
I think somebody else has their hand up.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Delissa. Thank you. I see, is it Esfandri? Please, you've got the floor.
Yes, good. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Kay, for giving me the opportunity. Hello, Pierre. Hello, Judith as well, and other colleagues. To be frank, I'm not yet so familiar with the process. So we have read the current updates and the invitation and current preparation for the next ICCM. Um, to be honest, we are not ready to provide the set sticking points at this stage, and we are happy that you will be providing certain non-paper which streamlines the text, avoid duplication, etc., and perhaps provide some information on what were the intention of each paragraph, I guess. And we were hoping that perhaps we could still provide our view on the sticking points after the non-paper, perhaps when it is perhaps clearer through your non-paper, and so we can provide a more comprehensive opinion on the current text, Kay and Judy. And I guess that's it. And we hope to contribute as much as possible. And again, we hope that the process doesn't end today, because this is almost summer break, and everybody is in Capita is not really quite responding mode. So for your consideration, Judith and Kay, perhaps after the non-paper issue, you could provide us with another session, so we could provide our views in more comprehensive way.
Absolutely, thank you very Esfandri for that, for those comments. And in fact, that is the intention, that in September we will hold these virtual briefings again. You will have seen the non-papers. You could say to us, we really don't like them. We don't, tear them up. That's your prerogative. It's just going to be, this is just Judith and I's way of trying to speed up the process together with the co-facilitators at IP 4.3.
Thank you, Kate.
I see next. Is it Oriba?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Kay, for giving me the floor. I just want to raise one point. I would like to stress the importance of a new, adequate, predictable, and sustainable financing are essential to achieve the objectives and targets, especially for the low-income countries. Yeah. And also it would help capacity building. Clearinghouse mechanism is not going to substitute the lack of funding, and raising this already at this meeting would give a very good hint and a prediction for the upcoming events. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oriba. And yes, that's really very well heard. And we will do our best to put in place aspects, arrangements that will help to hopefully meet the needs of developing countries. Is there? Is it Chinky?
So, good afternoon from the Philippines. I'm Chinky from Eco Waste Coalition and also IPEN. Thank you very much for this consultation. I just would like to say that SciChem is really important in our work as civil society organizations on chemicals, and also including chemicals and wastes issues. We hope that the new SciChem, or the scope of the new SciChem, should also include both chemicals and wastes. And waste means all types of wastes. And this is very important because this is the waste is in line with the language of the Sustainable Development Goals targets, and we hope that this will be really included in the new cycle. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Jinky. Next, sorry, Esfandri, did you want to come in again? Or is that a legacy hand? You're on mute.
Yes, thank you, Kay. Again, it's very short. Perhaps I think this is aimed to the Asia Pacific Regional Coordinator. Perhaps we could have like a virtual meeting ahead of the physical one in Bonn, so we could talk among the region beforehand instead of just going directly to the Bonn. I believe the coordinator is now Mr. Sajjad from Iran. And I think that's the point I would like to raise. Thank you, Kay.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think we'll leave it to the region and the Secretariat to try and sort any additional meetings out. Next, I see, is it Tripti? Tripti Aurora?
Yes. Hi. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me the floor. I'm Tripti Arora. I represent Toxics Link and also IPEN, the International Pollutants Elimination Network. I just wanted to echo what our fellow colleagues have been saying and wanted to highlight the importance of having the new text equally or more ambitious than the existing ones. And it's important that it should continue to recognize the precautionary principle, the right to know, the polluter pays principle, and all the new framework should be implemented in the Beyond 2020 framework. And we think that it is important that it retains all issues of concern and emerging policy issues and also incorporates gender. I know that in the last meetings, the gender have been a good point of discussion and documents are being created, and we hope that it is incorporated this time. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Tripti. I do believe gender is already in draft. Anyway, it will be in brackets, as are all the principles and approaches, but there is definitely text on gender in the document. So let's hopefully we can get agreement on that. But thank you for those points. I don't see any new hands. Is there anything coming up?
I do have an additional question. Sorry.
Sorry, I don't know who's that. Oh, is it
Delisa? Yes.
Yes, Delisa.
So yeah, previously my question was procedural, but in terms of the targets representing the agrochemical industry, that I do hope to see more deliberations on target 7 and 5 regarding regulating agrochemicals, and these comments have already been surfaced at the Nairobi meeting before, but I think there's not a resolution yet on the target phrasing. Again, from a regional perspective and working with some of the Asian governments and the Ministry of Agriculture, is to really focus on the needs of lower income countries and the need for proper transition to phase out highly hazardous pesticides. So I hope that there can be some language around that we could help to support phrasing. I think what you said about taking a step back and making sure that we achieve our strategic objectives. I think at the end of the strategic objective is to really support farmers, and in that space having a more balanced approach is something that the Ministry of Agriculture in Asia would also like to see more, but and then mainstream with the Ministry of Environment that are representatives to this meeting.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Delisa.
Thank you.
So with that, I don't see any more requests for the floor, unless I see some legacy hands from Sajjad, I think, and Suki. Are they legacy hands?
I would like to come in again, but
sorry, Suki. Yes, Suki, would you like to come in, please?
Yes. So thank you very much. did Sajad speak already?
I don't know, I'm not sure whether it's a legacy hand. Maybe we can close this.
Let's ask Sajad first, then if he has.
Okay, Sajad, do you have another question?
Thank you.
No. Okay, thank you. Okay, so that's a legacy hand. Thank you. Yeah, Suki, over to you.
Okay. Yes, so thank you very much. So I hear what you say, that the same thing does not need to be repeated again and again, since so many comments that has been made were very repetitive throughout IP process. So we do not repeat, and also we trust co-chairs and also IP co-facilitators on each contact group that all the voice has been heard so far very carefully, so that they would produce non-papers very well. So we trust that we don't need to have a written submission process. And then, since one thing we have not said so far, so we would like to deliberate as the way forward. And currently there is the text that reads principles and approaches, and which has been developed by the Friends of Co-Chairs. And what had discussed was well communicated within the Asia Pacific region, with the although there is a limitation that only with the participants of the IP 4.2. And we had collected the other views who is not attending Friends of Co-Chairs, and then we've always delivered what has been discussed with the participants. However, there are quite a few reservations on the entire text on principles and approaches, and this would take some time, we believe, to come to an agreement. So in order for us to be able to reach the agreement as fast as possible, we may want to propose the word consideration rather than principles.
Yeah.
As
okay, thank you.
Compromise.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Yes, that's very helpful. Just to let you know, so we are aware of the views of this region regarding the Friends of the Co-Chair draft text. I think the Friends of the Co-Chair was a good mechanism to put this new text in, but the full intention at IP 4.3 is that if we can try and clean it up in plenary right at the beginning, that would be fantastic. So we stand ready, Judith and I, to bring that text to plenary, to go through it and work at pace to try and bring elements of that into the consolidated document.
If I may,
yes,
just a follow-up questions. As you mentioned that after the non-paper issue, there will be time to hear views on the paper. But you also mentioned that there won't be a written submission on the paper. It means what you mean time to provide our views is it's like a virtual meeting like this, or is it right away to the IP 4.3, or is it during the regional, or maybe before regional? Or would you explain a little bit so we can report to Capital?
No, absolutely. So look, we're at the stage in the negotiation. Judith and I are working very hard to try and make as much progress before we arrive at IP 4.3. But ultimately, it is all the participants in the room that have to come to the decisions in terms of consensus. It is you. You are going to have to talk to others to reach that consensus. It won't be just Judith and I facilitating that. There'll be the expectation that during regional meetings, if you have a certain position and you know that the Central Eastern European region has a different position, then Judith and I will be saying to you, please, will you go and talk to that region and come up with a solution? The solutions will not be just in Judith and I hands. The solutions and the way forward is with you. And I think everybody has to take ownership of the product that they want to bring to ICCM 5. This is a joint, this is our new framework, and we have to take responsibility. And I think everybody has to be open about what they value most. And if there's something that isn't acceptable to one region and they have to let that go or accommodate that, then, you know, you have to prioritize what you care about most, and is it going to be good enough? Because that's what happens in a negotiation. Hopefully, we will all have a win-win, and that we will all see something that we like in the new framework, but we won't see everything that we would like to have in that new framework. Does that help?
Just a little. Okay, so and my question, I guess, is back again to related in relation with our sticking points. I mean, will there be another virtual meeting, perhaps with co-chairs after you issue the non-paper?
Yes.
Okay.
There will be one in September.
Okay.
Early September.
But not written submissions, just virtual.
No submissions, please. We don't want any more submissions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Kay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. I think I don't know now. I just sort of for final remarks then. I can see a legacy hand. Is that from you, Suki? Thank you. So with that, I don't know, I can't see any more requests for comments. So I think Judith and I would just wish you well. Wish you well in your planning for your positions. If you can have an opportunity to have bilaterals and to come up with and present proposals that can resolve some of the issues that you know have been discussed about, then please bring them forward. Judith and I will be working at pace at IP 4.3. You may expect to be working through the night if we cannot get these agreement, but we hope that we can achieve consensus for a vast majority of the whole package that we're working with to send forward for translation to ICCM5. And so with that, I don't know, I'm going to say goodbye. Judith, would you like to say goodbye?
I can. Okay, sorry, I could. It's difficult to unmute. Thank you everyone for attending this meeting. We are working in these non-papers, and we for sure try to accommodate all the issues that were discussed during these IPs, and I hope you can see our work as a tool to advance the discussions in Bonn. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think we're going to close the meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you,
Have a good
Sadhbh.
evening.
Thank you,
Have a good
co-chair.
day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.